Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, June the 11th, 2024. It's 9 a.m., and we're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. This is a regular meeting of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas. And today we're very honored and pleased to have with us the Associate Pastor of Hope Community Church, Pastor Diane Raspberry, to give us the invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we love you so much, and we thank you for all the wonderful blessings that you give us each day. Father, we come before you today, and we ask your forgiveness for the idle words that we spoke, for the things that we've done, for our agenda that we come to you with all the time instead of asking you, what do you want us to do? So, Father, we ask your forgiveness today. We ask that you forgive us for the way we've treated our brothers and our sisters, Lord. Father, we ask that you forgive us that we have not sought you in making decisions, but that we've tried to make those decisions on our own. So this morning we come and we lay this court at your feet, Lord. We thank you for the commissioners. We thank you for their sacrifices that they make each day, Father, to serve you and to serve our community. We thank you for each person that's here this morning. We thank you that they've come wanting to represent our community. And Father, we ask that you bless this time that we have together, that you protect all those that are here. Father, that they hear the cries of our heart, Lord. But Father, above all, we ask that your will be done in every area and in everything. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Would please join me for the Pledge of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now pledge to the great state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. The first item today on the special presentation is to receive an update from the Texas Association of Counties on Health Insurance. I understand that TAC is not going to be here today, so we're going to wait until the next time to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll wait until the next time. So now we come into the citizens at large, and I do not have any speakers on the citizens at large. Is that right, Ms. Leftwich? All right. Now we get into miscellaneous item number 1, discuss and take appropriate action to allocate up to $5,000 to Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District for 2023 and $5,000 for 2024 for a total of $10,000 for costs associated with easement enforcement, O&M inspections, maintenance, mowing, land treatment measures, and other attendant costs for 2 USDA NCRS flood control dams located in Hood County, namely Paluxy River WS NRS CS Site 16 and Ruckers Creek WS NRC Site 1. Larry Wilkins to present data and information. Mr. Wilkins. And we got a gentleman with us right here that's known far and wide to all of us here. State this gentleman's name here.
I'm sorry. Joe Lane.
He donates, in addition to everything else he does, he has a wagon that he donates for use to the sheriff's posse every year that raises a lot of money up here too. He's a good member of the community.
All right. Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. As the Judge mentioned, we're here on behalf of the Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. Joe and I sit on the board of that organization. We had this come up last meeting, and I want to start the meeting off by saying I apologize. My intention was to be here at your last court. I woke up that morning with water coming out of the ceiling from a faulty AC deal. So I had to miss it. There were some questions brought up. But basically, we'll kind of go through this. I passed out some information So the first thing is the dam sites themselves. We have 2 of them in Hood County. One's in the northeast part of the county. That is the Rutgers Creek Watershed Site number 1. And the other one is in the southwestern part of the county, which is the Paluxy River Watershed Site number 16. Both these dams were built a long time ago. The first one was the Rutgers Creek Dam, was built in 66, 67, and then the other one was the Paluxy River Site was built like in 73, 74. Both of them were intended for flood control issues by the state. They came in and upon designating those areas needing some type of control or flood control, they built those dams back in those a long time ago. With that, they entered into an agreement with the county and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts for maintenance of those dams, basically keeping them in order, keeping brush off of them, making sure there's nobody trying to dig into the dam sidewalls or anything like that that would possibly cause issues of the dam to fail. With that said, this is an ongoing deal. We've had this agreement with the county. We were back in here last time in 2022 at that time and received $5,000, $2,500 per dam to have the ongoing annual assessments, if work is needed, anything like that basically. I know there was some questions that were brought up at the last meeting by Commissioner Samuelson. I met with her yesterday, hopefully answered most of them, but to kind of reiterate what she asked and went through, the original document back in 66 and 73, I believe, is between Parker, Hood County Soil and Water Conservation District, and we're asking for money under the Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. As everything else, those entities have changed. They've rezoned those. We're no longer affiliated with Parker County. They're no longer affiliated with us. So in 92, there was a division document. I've sent that. That's part of that package I've given you, and it's recognized by the state as well. But we go under Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. Parker County goes under Parker County Soil and Water Conservation District. And so we're separate, and that's a good thing for the purpose of they have roughly about 36 dams that they take care of and budgeted for and so forth. We have 2. You know, our counterparts to the west of us, Erath County, they have this agreement that take care of about 74 different dams. So they spend quite a bit of money trying to make sure, you know, compliance on the dams. There's easements, there's restrictions on what the landowners can do. There's been some development around some of these dams, not on ours. We're very fortunate, we're blessed that ours are on ranches and one family owners, and they know the rules, they know the agreement, and so but some of these counties face development issues where developers come in and build either downstream, or there's been some cases where some developers have bought land, cut it up, and some homeowners try to build on top of the dam sites, and so there's a lot of horror stories that deal with having multiple dams and multiple ownership and so forth, and so we're very, very blessed just having 2. Now, having said that, another question was that there wasn't no invoices submitted or annual inspections. I've submitted that with you. I submitted the inspection for 2023. I submitted the work that we paid for. It was a contractor out of Stephenville for both dams. There's 2 invoices for the end of 2023 when we paid the invoices. And then I submitted the inspection for 2024 as well. The dams are in good shape, and so we don't really have any issues we worry about. Because of some of these horror stories, we've also engaged some legal advice attorney to have some guidance on, if these dams were ever to have conflict with development on them, they build over an easement that we have or something like that. There's been some suggestion that we refile some of these easements to where they get current again, and the title companies can find them in searches and so forth because of the age of the original documents. But, with that, we have the expense not only of doing the work, clearing brush, stacking brush, burning it, spraying. We have a district employee that goes out and does the annual inspections. If needed, they get guidance from the NRCS. And then, of course, we have now an attorney bill where he gave us some counseling on some of that as well. So our basically request that we've had for years now is we come and we ask for $2,500 per dam, and that's, a little over a couple $100 a month to cover the costs associated with these things. Other than that, I don't know if I'm missing anything, or if there's any other questions, I'd love to hopefully answer them for you, Joe.
I think just staying on top of them, and keeping the brush off of them and keeping them mowed is the main thing, and that's basically what that money goes for.
If there was another area in the county that needed a flood control, lake put in, what's the process for that? Because right now there's at least another area of potential.
That's been mentioned to me, and I'm going to probably say I need to ask. These were done, well, actually, one of them was done before I was born, but so I just need to find out. These were put in place from the state. The state recognized the need for that. So I would probably just start with our contacts there and see if they would designate some of these areas that you're talking about, or that have been mentioned to me, to see if they would be interested in doing that.
All right.
Yeah.
We've got another one that was planned several years ago on Ice Creek, and just the cost of construction of these new dams is so high right now that we've deferred that to later. And I don't know if the government, if our state will ever get back into the dam construction business or not. I mean, the water reservoir construction business. So.
Larry, can I give you my card? Can you reach out to me? That's got my cell phone number on it.
Sure.
And talk about that.
Okay.
Talk about that other spot. So.
I think Kevin and I are talking about the same place. You got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Besides maybe recommendations from us and so forth like that, I think the approval certainly has to come from the state. On these dam sites that we do work, I failed to mention that, the state covers 90% of the cost for us to work on this, and these funds that we're asking for is basically the 10% that we're obligated to do to get their 90% matching funds. So.
And Mr. Wilkins?
Yes.
Just a question here, and I just picked up from the last agenda item, but you mentioned that you needed $2,500 a year, and I've got it on here for $5,000 a year. So which is it?
It's $2,500 per dam. So times
Per dam, okay,
yes, sir,
okay.
be $5,000.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more question. What account should this come out of? This is to the auditor.
I spoke with Nanette before and Judge Massengale about if we are paying both invoices. We do have it budgeted for this year, for fiscal year 24, in 050-615-041-001. And so we will pay the $5,000 for 24 out of there, but if you guys approve to pay the retro for 23, then that will have to come out of 010-4090, a non-departmental contract services account, because we don't have $10,000 budgeted for this fiscal year.
You have one budgeted and one not budgeted.
Right.
But we can pay, of course, the one that is budgeted, and then the other $5,000 out of the other account that you just stated?
Yes.
Okay.
It's whatever you guys want to approve.
I think this is very important. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll be happy to make a motion to, let's see, motion to allocate $5,000 per dam to Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District for 2023 and $5,000 for 2024, for a total of $10,000 for costs associated with easement enforcement, O&M inspections, maintenance, mowing, land treatment measures, and other attendant costs for 2 USDA NCRS flood control dams located in Hood County, namely Paluxy River, WSNRCS Site 16, and Ruckers Creek, WSNRCS Site 1, $5,000 of which coming out of the budgeted item in the account that was, Kristen told us about, the number, because you just gave us a bunch of numbers, and the other $5,000 to come out of the other account that noted by the auditor.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made by Commissioner Eagle to pay the $5,000 to Brazos Valley Soil and Water Conservation District for 2023 and $5,000 for 2024, for a total of $10,000 to come out of the 2 respective accounts for the easement enforcement, O&M inspections, maintenance, mowing, land treatment measures, and other attendant costs for the 2 flood control dams located in Hood County, namely Paluxy River, Site 16, and Ruckers Creek, Site 1. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for both coming down.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
see
you,
y'all.
Larry.
All right, item number 2, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the county judge to sign the professional services agreement with Tyler Technologies to enable the gathering of the data for the VINE victim notification system to be paid from contract services. Mr. Owen Orcutt from IT. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. So this is basically to get it set up for VINE. VINE is a system that is set up and basically run through Equifax, and what it does is anybody that is a victim of a crime, basically it keeps them in the loop whenever their assailant has any kind of movement through the judicial system, be it through the jail or through the court. And so we had this before. It was lapsed by the previous district clerk. However, the current district clerk agreed that she would like to have it back on, as well as the other courts. And since we migrated from that data to Tyler, we've got to get it all configured and all that. So it's a one-time $3,000, I believe. That's a little bit more. What was it?
$3,750.
$3,750 for it. And really, that's about it. Once that one-time fee is there, we don't pay anything else to Tyler. I had spoken to Nanette, who had brought up some grievances about, with Tyler having some money to owe us, and so we have floated the idea of taking that $3,000 out of that $107 as well. However, it kind of got pitched to a lawyer, so I think at that point it'll be lawyer versus lawyer on that side. So
Yeah, so that's, I'm not disputing, sorry. I can barely talk today, which the judge is probably very happy about.
I was going to say, I'm about a step behind you, so I've been clearing my throat all morning.
All right, so anyway, it's not just the $107,000 that they owe us for the non-implementation of the timesheet software, but also they sent us a credit memo, and our county auditor is currently looking at that to see, why do we have credits? Were they overpayments? Did they bill us for something we didn't owe? So at this point, I'm not comfortable with paying them another $3,750 when they owe us more than $107,000. I know I've spoken with Matt about it. I don't know, our county attorney, Mr. Mills, if it's possible that the judge just marks through that contract where it has the total and says offset balance owed or something of that nature, then I'm not disputing. Roberta said she's familiar with our district clerk. Ms. Zamora said she is familiar with the software, but she's unaware of the connection and charges that Equifax has with Tyler and the Vine configuration. So she does know what the software does and what it provides, but she just wasn't aware of, apparently, that she needed another piece of software.
It's just a configuration. It's not another piece of software. It's basically just enabling it on the back end to turn it on, essentially, is what it is.
So she wasn't aware that she needed additional configuration to be able to use it.
And it's not necessarily just her. It's all the courts do. So this isn't just for the district court. It's
Okay, well,
also
that's
for,
what your email said last, was that it was for the district clerk.
that's because before, so we were on NetData and Tyler, so they were separated. So NetData kept and ran all the way through, whereas the district court, who was on Tyler, decided they no longer wanted to continue it. So it lapsed on the district clerk side. And then now that we're pushing all the other courts to Tyler, we have to re-up it for them, since we're
Right.
no longer on NetData, and now we're throwing the district clerk back in.
Right, but you said the $37.50 is to configure the district clerk's
For
office.
everybody, it's for everybody, not just the district
Okay,
clerk's
well,
office.
that's not what your email said. So anyway, back to the point of that they owe us money. Matt, or Mr. Mills, would you mind weighing in on this, please?
Well, what specifically do you want me to?
On the invoice or the
Right.
document, it has a line for the total cost of the configuration, and then it also has a line for total owed. So
Right.
is it just mark out the total owed and put offset balance owed county?
You can, I mean, basically, just for the history of it, a month or so ago, we had that vote to
Could you
say
bring the invoice up, please?
the time and attendance software was a lemon, and we weren't going to pay them, or we were going to seek an offset because we spent over $100,000 on something that didn't work.
Right.
So the court voted to seek that offset or to take that out of future payments. And then we had a group call with Tyler, and they were going to talk to, I think, Leanne and the IT side about why it didn't work or whatever, but then we were going to have maybe some future conversations about how we were going to deduct it, and it seemed like a complicated thing on their end, but they also seemed open to saying, hey, we feel bad that our product didn't work, and so that was kind of how we left it, and that call was 2-3 weeks ago. So, I mean, this amount is kind of a drop in the bucket compared to the $100,000-something. And, I mean, I guess if it were me, I would just, pay the $37.50 for now, get the thing going, and then try to sit down and figure out, where the 107 or whatever it is comes from,
Well, why would, they were agreeable in the conversation that we had with them. They acknowledged that their product was deficient. They said they'd heard that from other implementations as well.
Right.
And they acknowledged that they were amicable to us deducting future payments. So here's a future payment. Why would we not take the opportunity to not pay them?
Do what you want to do. I mean, you can't, I don't understand their processes on their accounting side. They acted like, well, we will seek to remedy this thing with you and work with you, but it's not as easy on our accounting end as just, subtract here and there or whatever. I don't know what they need to do to make it add up on their end. So I feel like there's going to be some bigger payments coming, obviously, just for the mass of technology that we buy every year for everything. I don't know when those are due or how much is coming, but I mean, we have future opportunities to take a bigger chunk than $37.50 if you want to do that and not, nickel and dime it forever. But I mean, it's up to you.
All right.
I'd hate to see us muddying the waters between, working this, getting this money back, for the time clock, by adding this $37.50.
Well, not really.
Because it comes out of contract services.
Not really, because we didn't ask them to cut us a refund check. So whatever money that they're going to offset is not going to be for the time and attendance. It's going to be for other Tyler products or services. So here's one. So with that, I'll make the motion to allow the county judge to sign the professional services agreement with Tyler Technologies, enabling the gathering of data for Vine Victims Notification System, with the addition of striking the total contract amount and adding the words offset balance owed.
So you'd want this applied to the credit?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've got some discussion that I want before this motion here. I totally agree with you, Mr. Mills. When you're dealing with offsets on the deal, they're usually done one at a time. They're very confusing if you're trying to take it from different things. And $3,750 is such a small amount compared to what they owe us, and we have bigger offsets that's going to be coming down the pike. What this Tyler does right here, this is a very significant, you need this, don't you, Sheriff? Right here, this victim. Come in here, tell us about this. What I'm going to do, when you do this, this is a novation and changes up the entire deal. So they don't have to respond to this at all. And we need this service that's called for $3,750. It doesn't make any sense for the county to do without this service for the $3,750. Tell us why we need this service, Sheriff.
Well, this is really, really important as we arrest to protect the victims of a crime. We've got the suspect in jail, and when they get out, then the victim's notified, and then it works with the other courts too. But that's the most important thing. After suspect is arrested, then the victim is notified every step of the way. So it's super important that we keep this going.
Right. I'm not, as I said in the beginning, I'm not disputing that this isn't needed. I understand that. And it's, any way we do this, it's going to be apples and oranges, because we're not paying anymore on the software that didn't work. So unless we decide we're going to ask them for a refund to cut us a check, which our county attorney said he would not want to do, he wanted to take it out of future payments. So here's the future payment. I don't understand why we wouldn't just start now and not pay them anymore until we reach the $107,000 plus the credits that are owed to us from the other credits that our auditor is currently working through.
Well, we need to keep this service intact, moving right now.
We do.
So if you cross out and do not, cross out the 3750 and put 0 and do not send the money, they're not going to and do not have to accept this. And then the county's going to be out, or the victims of crimes are going to be without that protection. It doesn't make that any sense for $3,750. Do you agree with that, Mr. Mills?
That's probably a policy decision. But, I mean, just whispering with Drew and Owen, I think we're going to have close to six-figure payment coming due in October for the bulk of our stuff, which, I mean, I want to be a partner with Tyler, if it's just asking my opinion, to say, okay, if this is really complicated and we've got all these accounting issues and it's different contracts and amounts, you know, let's try to simplify and work with them, and then just hit them for the big payment in October and just say, look, you know, you give us a free year of whatever or something like that. I guess that's my preference, but that's a policy thing, and y'all can vote on that, I guess.
I think what you're saying makes perfect sense. Let's ask them to offset it. If it is a problem, pay it and move on, and we'll deal with the offset later. That's kind of my thought on this.
That's what I'm saying.
So let's ask them for the offset right now, and if they say, hey, it's a big convoluted mess to do that,
okay, write the check and then deal with the convoluted mess on the
So
back end.
what are you saying, ask for the offset right now? You're asking them to send us a refund, or what are you saying?
Just say, hey, can you take this $37.50 out of what you owe us right now?
Okay,
And if they are agreeable to that, then we do it and move on. And if they say, well, this is a, an accounting issue or something like that, then write the check and send it and move on.
okay, so you're...
Ask them for the credit.
Okay,
If
so
they say
you're-
it's a pain, then write them a check and deal with it later.
Okay, so are you seconding the
So
motion?
that it doesn't interfere with the stoppage of the victim's notification. That's what we don't want to stop.
Right. But he's saying ask for the $37.50 as a credit.
Right. With the caveat, if this is a problem, to just go ahead and write the check. Let's not wait for the next court. If they come back and say, no, we don't want to issue the credit, let's not wait until the next court to agree to this contract. Let's ask them for the credit right now. And if that's an issue, then write a check and deal with the credit on the bigger items.
I agree.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I got a point of order here then.
Yeah.
Can Commissioner Samuelson withdraw her motion and then renew the motion as stated by Commissioner Andrews, please?
I'll withdraw my motion because I think he's saying almost the same thing, but go ahead and make your motion.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that we...
Well, you withdraw your motion.
I did.
Yeah, she did. Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the contract and ask that to be an offset for the credit. And if that, I don't know how to say that exactly, becomes some kind of an issue, then just write a check and deal with the credit later.
Second.
Okay.
So that it doesn't interfere with the protection.
Right.
Yes,
coverage.
yeah, get the stuff in place, whatever means we need to do that, so.
So you're saying
And a motion been
before,
made by Commissioner Andrews to contact Tyler to try to say that, see if we can pay this $3,750 as an offset. But if they have an issue with that, to go ahead and write a check for the $3,750 so that the service provided by this contract is uninterrupted. Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 3. Pursuant to Local Government Code 152.014, take appropriate action for the county judge to draw names for the Salary Grievance Committee from a pool of citizens who served on the grand jury in Hood County, Texas during the preceding calendar year. Now, I do have the names from the grievance that served on the committee, and I draw them every year. So you want, I'm not looking at them, I'm going to call them out, and then you're going to write them, okay? And we're going to do all of them, because the first one is Samantha McCombs. The number 2 is Rusty Myers. Number 3 is Aaron O'Neill. Number 4 is Bobby Pemberton. Number 5 is Lori Ramirez. Number 6 is Todd Webster. Number 7 is Lisa Roper. Number 8 is George McQueen. 9 is Susan Hancock. 10 is Christina Hefferman. 11 is Jeffrey Hudson. 12 is John Krieger. 13 is Suzanne Stewart. 14 is Terry Cavazos. 14 is Jeffrey Blowers. 15 is Stephen Huxtable. 17 is Deborah Milhollow. 18 is Monty Smith. 19 is Lenora Pruitt. 20 is Tim Falaschek. What was my next number? 21 is Mary Zepeda 22 is Paul Lee. 23 is Donna Letter. And 24 is Nakina McDuff. So those are the numbers of the grievance committee. You can seal those back up. So I guess I'd need to have a motion that those names that I just read into the record will serve as the salary grievance committee for the preceding calendar year.
So moved.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to approve the list of names that the county judge has read into the record for the salary grievance committee from the pool of citizens who served on the grand jury in Hood County during the preceding calendar year, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those who agree say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next item, number 4. Discuss and take appropriate action regarding the property value impact created by the Marathon Digital Holdings cryptocurrency data center and funding an independent sound study. Now, we have in here today only 13 names. 13.
Oh, Judge.
Thank you. 15 names. So
Okay.
our rules provide 30 minutes for each agenda item, so 15 into 30 goes,
Two.
how many?
2.
2 minutes. So 2 minutes flat for everybody that wishes to speak on this, and I will call the names. The first speaker
Judge,
is,
before you do that, I'd like to just kind of introduce the item, if that's all right.
okay, Commissioner Samuelson put this on the docket here, so she wants to give us a little explanation.
Yeah, so I put this on here to bring to light what's happening in the approximate 10-mile radius of the Marathon Data Center. I've heard from many, many people around the area about the loss of value in their homes and property, along with other issues that I'm sure will be spoken about today. I have heard from people as far away as Indian Harbor, De Cordova, and off of 144 by Neareye Road. This is a risk we need to discuss, but before going any further, I'd like to hear from anyone who's signed up to speak. All right, I'm done.
Ready? Okay, first speaker is Tom Weeks. Mr. Weeks. 2 minutes.
All right, well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be very brief. I've resided on Mitchell Bend for the last 27 years. My property has become absolutely worthless. My peace has been taken from me. I cannot even sit on my deck and enjoy a cup of coffee. My house vibrates. The Star Telegram was there the other day noticing liquids in jars vibrating. I'm sick of it. If my property is worthless and everybody else around me is worthless, it should be taxed accordingly. And the problem is, if we fix this problem, this is going to be stuck to us for years. There's a stigma. You know, it's going to be hands-off this area. You know, I'm concerned. I don't like losing money. I don't like watching my neighbors lose money. And I'd like some peace and quiet. I don't blame, there's nobody here to blame, okay? But I just think something has got to be done. It's ridiculous. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 2, John Highsmith.
Good morning. I'm John Highsmith. I live in Pecan Plantation, and I want to talk about the concept of additivity today. And you say, what is that? That's the assumption that when you have A and you add B, you get A and B. We don't have that. We have, with the Bitcoin noise issue, A, if you consider that to be the property values, and you have B, what you're going to get in taxes from these companies doing this. You're losing money over here. I guess you're going to get some money from the companies creating the noise. So as you recall from a month ago, I spoke and said that Pecan Plantation pays approximately $15,872,000 per year in taxes for their properties. That's for 3,200 homes. And then you project another $9.5 million if these 1,100 new homes, and they're high-value homes, are going to be built in Pecan. So combined, the county gets $25,420,000 from Pecan, plus sales taxes, gas taxes, et cetera. But what happens if the property values go down by 10% because of this noise issue? Well, that's $2.5 million cost to the county. What happens if 20% goes down by 20%? That's $5 million. And then you also have the possibility that some of these new homes will not even be built because people come out and say, what's that noise? And they find out about this Bitcoin noise. So I think Hood County gets a good deal from Pecan Plantation. We pay our taxes. The county does not pay to maintain the roads for one of the advantages the county gets from Pecan Plantation. So, no longer is the loss of property value theoretical, because you're going to hear something today from Cheryl Shadden. She's worked tirelessly on this issue, and you're going to find out what the appraisal district did with her property valuation, and that's going to tell you how much this is harming the property values of the people living around this thing. With that, I think the big thing is, what are we going to do? I think this is, continually the question. And what I would say is, I talked in February on declaring a health emergency, and that was, discussed and nothing done. And I say, well, if that's not done, what is the court going to do? And the reason it's important is Constellation Energy. Now, I'll talk more about that later. My time's up.
Thank you. Larry Potts.
I'm Larry Potts, and my wife and I live at 8211 Contrary Creek Road, which lives down the little path called Potts Court, because we have so many relatives that live down there. 911 wanted to change it, so it went to Potts Court. And we're probably within a quarter mile of Bitcoin, and I'm not opposed to people making money. I mean, that's what our free enterprise system is all about. But I do oppose the sound pollution that's going on over there in our area. It has killed a lot of value out of our real estate. My granddaughter and my grandson have been under that for the last, I don't know how many years, that they've been out there, and they finally, it's irritating. And they ended up in a divorce and sold their house, and they had to come down $100,000 because of having to say, this noise is continuous. You lose a lot of money. You can't hide that thing when you sell real estate. And I have health issues from all of this. I came out there when I was 72 years old, before Bitcoin came out there, for peace and quiet, and my wife and I built our last home out there, one-bedroom house, and now it's just no peace and quiet. I've had some extremely strong health issues, including a pacemaker, which I never, because of a heart block, not blockage. I have gone almost deaf in my ears because of the sound constantly. You ever lay at night and listen to the crickets sing? I hear them all the time now. Please help us with our taxes there. on Contrary Creek, those of us that are close to that noise pollution.
Cheryl Shaden.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Shadden. I recently contested my property taxes. My property taxes now have been decreased 50% living across the street from the Marathon Digital Bitcoin mine and Wolf Hollow. Realistically, what this has taken from me is $400,000 in my property value. My property, like everybody else's in this area, is unsellable. I can't just pick up and move. I've paid for my property for 25 years. I've got 5 years left to pay on my property. For what? I've appreciated nothing. It's miserable. The sound is still 24/7. It invades my home. I've lost hearing. My neighbors are all sick. You want to know what the problem is in addition to Marathon Digital? It's Constellation Energy. They're running a 7th gas pipeline through all of the ranchers' properties out there, eminent domaining it. They're planning on running an 8th and a 9th. Wolf Hollow wants to add on. The #1 emission producer in Hood County, Constellation Energy at Wolf Hollow. We have air pollution, we have sound pollution, everybody out there is sick. Something needs to be done about it. This is not right to allow this community to continue to suffer this way.
Ward Dunn.
Good morning. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. And I know it's part of the usual procedures, but thank you for the citizens' voice in this. My wife and I moved to Pecan Plantation 6 years ago. We lived near the back gate overlooking River Bend, directly at the Bitcoin Data Mining Center. My wife has continual headaches, our dogs won't go out at night, and I can name many, many other things. We are definitely in favor of taking action regarding our property values and funding an independent sound study. My wife has been a realtor in 4 different states, including Texas twice. She says if we ever wanted to try to sell our home, if we could, we would definitely have to disclose this noise. We feel that a minimum of a 25% decrease in our property values would be just nothing, but would have to be something stated. Those that live within a couple of miles, 50% isn't going to even help them. What they're witnessing and going through within a couple miles, and we're 5 miles away, is totally torture. Thank you.
Jeff Snyder. Sider.
Yes, Jeff Sider. I'm right there with you, Commissioner Samuelson. I live at 2145 Osprey Court. I'm a retired firefighter from Grand Prairie. I'm with all the rest of my neighbors. I'm, I guess, about a quarter of a mile south of the Bitcoin and electric plant. We moved there about 4 years ago. And I guess I'm still trying to learn how the county works, because being from Grand Prairie, they would tell us when stuff was coming. I got no notification that a pipeline's coming through my property. The 7th pipeline's coming through my property. I got no notification, apparently 2 more are coming. No notification that this Bitcoin money out of thin air is coming and making all kinds of noise. They can take this, the technology, the immersion technology, and stop the sound. If there was no sound, we wouldn't be here. Let me make that clear. If there was no sound, y'all, we'd be happy. I don't care if there's buildings over there, as long as they don't. It's 80 decibels at my porch a quarter of a mile away, constantly. And now they're going to have another electric plant, the 3rd electric plant. I agree with Cheryl. When I bought the place 4 years ago, my appraisal has doubled in 4 years. How does that happen? It shouldn't have happened, and I'm fighting tooth and nail with the appraisal district. They didn't lower my property taxes this year for a barn dominium that I built. I have two metal buildings, a shop and a barn dominium, and they valued that with 1 acre for $572,000 for two metal buildings. It's not right.
Elizabeth Mercer.
Good morning. First, to every single person talking about this Bitcoin mining and the noise, I'm so sorry, because our community had something really tiny compared to what you have. And here's what we discovered. No matter how badly someone's private property development impacts your life, your ability to be happy with traffic or anything else, and certainly we're not having health issues, there's nothing the county can do. Flat out, in Texas, property rights, surface property rights are not, if you're in the county as we are, there's nothing that anybody can do here. And because there's nothing you can do, and you all know this, because ask anybody who lives on Boswell Court, since you really can't, no matter how hard your heart hurts, because mine's hurting right now, you can't do anything. Right now, in the state of Texas, HCR 89, SB 1929 have already been approved, and they're going to Abbott's desk for signage. HB 591, it's actually giving them more tax exemptions so that if they use any wasted gas, these Bitcoin minings or any other business, they're going to be able to get a tax exemption, and you can't do anything because it's state law. The only thing that might have been helpful was SB 1751. And that was stopped at committee, and maybe in the next legislative session they can take that, and that will offer some control for the Bitcoin mining. But until the state addresses this, you guys, I know it doesn't matter how bad you feel, you can't do anything. And because of this, I want you to explain to me why all of the other precincts in the county are being asked to fund a sound survey when you can't do anything about this. I would love for you to be able to, and if you can explain how, that would be wonderful. But right now, you should be talking to Shelby Slauson. You should be doing something with the state ledge, because truthfully, you can't do anything. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Mercer, what was that SB, what were those bills, the SB bill number?
Which one, sir?
You gave it,
Okay, are you talking about SB 1751? Because that particular bill is going to require them to register with the state when they reach 10 MW. And that stopped at committee, but not because there was any real opposition to it, but because they ran out of time.
It died in state affairs.
Right. So if they do that, then because I can see how distressed all of you are. I am too, but we all know you're not going to be able to do anything. It's really unfortunate that, people needed to know 2 years ago. Because as you guys already know also, there is a group, a lobbying group that was created by a member of the former administration, and they are going state to state to state to state. And they are actually lobbying for massive protections for Bitcoin mining, and they are being successful. They haven't hit Texas yet. This is a really serious matter, and I hope I hope that it's like you might have for Shelby would get you to work with her, because honestly, this is serious. And I'm concerned not just for these folks, because it's impacting them, but if it can happen to them, it can happen to any of us.
Right. And that bill that you mentioned.
Which one, ma'am?
The SB 1751.
Yes, ma'am.
It passed the Senate 31-0.
Well, what I
And then went on to it was referred over to the House, and then it died in state affairs. It was referred to committee.
Well, right, but I said it was stopped at committee.
Yes,
so
you're right. I'm just making the observation or letting people know that it passed the Senate 31-0. So, and there are ongoing conversations with both our senator and our legislator, just to let you know.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that, because again, this could happen to anybody, and I hope that you guys do something. But on the record, as hard as my heart hurts for these folks, there isn't a reason for tax dollars to be spent on a sound study that isn't going to do anything for them. We can't afford this. That's been made clear. You know, we don't want a hospital tax because we can't afford it. We killed a bond because we can't afford it. If this would help these folks, I would be all for it, but it won't. So what I'm asking you to do is not try to overreach here, because you already know from a government position that you can't do anything. And I hope you tell them that, because I know that all of us on Boswell Court were super upset when we realized you couldn't do anything, and you can't. Thank you.
Good. Nick Browning.
We do everything together, so we should get 4 minutes, right? My name is Nick Browning, and this is my wife, Virginia Browning. We live on Mitchell Bend Highway, right across the street from the Bitcoin mining. We've been here 40-something years. I was going to tell you how we got here, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have much time. But we've been here 40-something years. We've paid our taxes, and every year we've not caused any problem to anybody. Like I say, we're 81 years old and retired. And when we came down here from Galveston County, I didn't want to stay here, but she called this home, so this is home to us. So we kind of wanted to die right there where we're at, and we wanted our family is going to take over when we're not here. So I just don't think it's right, and I think there is something that can be done about it. They don't want to be good neighbors because, to start with, they put partial curtain up, a sound curtain. They stop a big hole here, a little bit here, and they're trying to tell everybody that they're wanting to be good neighbors, but they're not. I do already know that they're going to supply all the money for the 4th of July parade to try to get in good with everybody. And even our little church over here beside us, they try to feed everybody every Monday with groceries, and Marathon gave them 50 dozen eggs. So it's just not right what they're doing to us. They moved on top of us. We didn't move on top of them. And like I say, we're 80-something years old, and the way the taxes are now, we can't sell our place and go somewhere else because you couldn't find anything. I guess we could go in a nursing home, but we don't intend to do that either. We're still real spite in what we're doing. And it's caused a lot of health problems for us, health problems for her. She just had a pacemaker put in. I know that didn't cause the... Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Your time's over. Oops. Sorry, I have vertigo really bad, so he kind of has to hold on to me. Everything he said, everything everyone else has said in here, we just, we're behind him 100% because we thought we were going to pass this down to our children, our grandchildren. We have great-grandchildren that tell us, don't sell. We want this place. Well, it's worth nothing. So now what are they going to get? Nothing.
They can't sleep.
And we can't sleep at night. I have headaches. I have vertigo so bad. Sometimes you think I was drunk, but I don't drink. But everyone's suffering in one way or another, and a lot of people are suffering health-wise. We know that this is just a temporary home for us. Being Christians, we know this is not where we're going to end up. But while we're here, we want to enjoy it. He talked about the animals. We used to be able to sit on our porch and you could hear the flapping of the wings of the birds. You don't hear that anymore. We've lost the coyotes, we've lost the deer, we've lost just about all the animals out there. They can't stand it, neither can we. And we do need help from somebody. I mean, I don't know what you got to do, but gosh dang it, do something. I'm through.
Daniel Lakey.
live at 8225 Contrary Creek, so I share property line with the Potts family, about 0.6 of a mile. So this morning before I came here, it was 72 decibels on my front porch. 3 years ago, my wife and I moved to Granbury. We spent 4 months finding the perfect house where we could sit on our front porch and watch the sun go down. We don't do that anymore. That has been stolen from us. On June 1st, it was 81 decibels in my backyard. An airplane lands at 105. So I did not buy a piece of property at the tail end of an airport. I bought a piece of property out in the middle of the country. It's gotten ridiculous, okay? If you think that the neighbors don't want to help pay for us because y'all can't do anything, you can't. Because if you do a sound study, you can find out that the noise is killing us. It's killing the property value, it's killing the people. The federal government allows for grants for cities to give, to mitigate sound in houses near airports. The city of Fort Worth near Alliance Airport just applied for $33 million worth of grants to mitigate sound at the tail end of Alliance Airport for 200 homes. That breaks down to $168,000 a home. So how about you reduce my taxes and let me not pay the next $168,000 in taxes that I'm going to pay because I live near an airport. The federal government's not going to give you a grant for it. But if you do a sound study, at least we can prove that what they're doing is harmful to people. Airports have to be an average of less than 55 decibels during the night, 65 decibels during the day for the neighbors. They're trying to get 60 decibels in the neighborhood that they applied for $33 million worth of grants for. Okay? It was 72 decibels when I left for work and 80 decibels when I get home. It is far worse than an airport, and the damage is well more than the damage they do around airports, which is 13%. So.
Deanna Lakey.
I thought at first I would stand up here and talk in political terms as a cardiovascular RN about the health impacts of what's going on. That basically we're all suffering the same things, whether it be cardiovascular, neurological. I hear my phone ring 24 hours a day. I hear things in my head 24 hours a day. At night, when you're supposed to lay down and get your REM sleep and relax, I'm continuously jumping because I'm hearing things. Everybody else suffers through that too, and if you haven't been through it, you don't know what the suffering is. I don't know who allowed, I've changed my point of view from being up here talking about the health status. My 22-month-old grandson, my 9-month-old grandson, Jonah and Shepherd, my daughter and her husband moved in to the mobile home that's next to our property. I had my 2 grandchildren next door. It was a dream come true. My son's been talking to us. My son's 25, my daughter's 27. My son's been talking to us about putting in a mobile home at the back of the property so that he could bring his family when he has one day. Right now it's his dog. But so we could be a family like the Potts have on Potts Court. It's not going to happen. My daughter and my son-in-law had to move to Missouri with his parents because of the ear infections and the ear pain that the 22-month-old and the 9-month-old have been through. I've already lost part of my family. Mary Fawn doesn't deserve it. Nobody does. If nothing can be done on this level, we need to figure out who allowed it to come in. Why did it come in without anybody knowing about it or us getting to vote on anything? And then the last thing I have to say is that Mr. Freeman, who is an attorney for Marathon, had met my husband in a restaurant and wanted to come over to our house on friendly terms to listen to the sound that we're talking about. He was very interested in what are we hearing, what are we doing. He was asked one simple question. It was very cynical. Is this your first time putting a Bitcoin coin factory in somebody's backyard? His answer was yes. They don't know what they're doing, okay? They don't know what they're doing. Help us fight this. If it's not on this level, help us get to the next level. If we have people that allow this to come in without any studies being done, we need help removing those people from their office. We need representation here. We are supposed to be one community and one people, and we've all got to come together to act that way. We cannot do it ourselves. Thank y'all very much.
Miss Lakey, Miss Lakey, would you and your husband, I'm sorry, you said you had some kind of medical background. Could you let the court know? Could you step back up to the microphone?
So, cardiovascular symptoms that have been going on, I have had them several times. It is not an internal problem with my heart. It feels like that something on the outside of me, and that's going to be the frequencies or the sound waves, but something outside of my internal mechanisms that make my heart beat is making my heart beat to a different rhythm. It doesn't cause chest pain, it causes worry. You do not have control of your heart. You have to sit down. It brings on nausea. It's happened 3 different times to me, completely unrelated to any known cardiovascular symptom. A week and a half ago, my husband had the same thing going on. He has never had a heart issue. That after watching him, and we called the doctor, we called the hospital, do we need to take him to the hospital? And we were told by our medical doctor that this is more than likely an impact from the sound and the decibels going on. But our medical doctor told my husband, you do not need to go to the emergency room. This is not a heart attack. This is going to be related to what's going on out there with the noise.
And what is your background? I'm sorry.
Cardiovascular critical care nurse in a hospital, sorry. I've had dizzy spells. I'm not the best driver in the world, but I do have a clean driving record up until January of this year. I have had 4 different minor motor vehicle accidents, and they all have the same thing going on. For 1 or 2 seconds, I'm just not where I'm supposed to be behind the wheel, and then I come back immediately. And if I'm bumping into people, I'm behind somebody stopped, I have rear-ended somebody. I'm not an absent-minded driver. I don't have my mind anywhere else. I'm driving, I'm not there, and then I'm there. I have not had any seizure activity. I have been tested. As a matter of fact, my insurance company that we had before the current one wanted me to do some additional testing in order for them to keep carrying me as an insured driver. And I refuse that because I don't want any other person into my HIPAA information. So because I refuse to participate in allowing them to find out something else that was wrong with me, they dropped me. I have a new insurance carrier now. My husband can attest to the fact that we're paying double for that because I did not want to have to go through the testing. This is my privacy, my life. It was not seizure activity. I do not have Parkinson's or any other neurological disorder. It is going to be directly related to the sound of the Bitcoin farm, mining, whatever you want to call it. But do not forget that Mr. Freeman, who is one of the head attorneys for Marathon, when he was over, was asked, I didn't think his answer would be yes. Is this your first time putting a Bitcoin mine in somebody's backyard? Yes, ma'am. Okay? Thank you. Do you have any more questions?
The next speaker is Wes Rawl.
Guys, I come up here, I don't know, a few months ago, we were having this meeting, and I asked for all y'all's help. And I've had some response from some of y'all and nothing from others. I'm begging for a collective effort from you guys to help us. Everyone has spoke about property value and health issues and all that, and I have the same problems. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to focus more on the sound state. I think if you guys are going to help us, we're going to need some data to lean on. We can't just go up there with a handheld device we bought off Amazon and say, this is what we figured out. I think we need to invest some time and some money. I don't think you have to take this money away from the taxpayers, the people, and there's plenty of tax money coming from the facility itself. Allocate some of those funds for a sound study. Give us a leg to stand on. Fight for us. More than just a letter, more than just a phone call. Get involved. We desperately need the help. I don't care who created this. I'm not pointing blame at anyone. It doesn't get us anywhere to do that. We need to move forward, and we need to move forward in a good way for the people of our community. And to me, so like a vacuum cleaner is 85 decibels, I can't hear a vacuum cleaner half a mile away. I can't hear a vacuum cleaner in my house half a mile away. I can't hear a vacuum cleaner at the Pecan Plantation. So all sounds are not created equal. There's different properties to sound, and that has to be studied. In order for you to have data to lean on when you go to your state and say, hey, here's the problem. So I'm in full support of the sound study. I hope you guys can approve it today. Get moving forward with some urgency as well. Fast track this thing because we need it sooner than later. Thank you.
Tina Brown. Yes, Mr. Mills, do not leave. Okay. Shannon Wolf.
Shannon Wolf, I'm precinct chair for 211. Wolf Holland was in 211. And we have a humanitarian crisis. I was going to talk about the medical problems. It's been covered. I was going to talk about the devaluing of property. That's been covered. What I do want to mention is, according to the readings that Constable John Shirley has taken, the sound frequencies far exceed CDC, FAA, OSHA, and EPA standards. On the government's own website, they're saying anything above 65 is going to cause irreversible damage to people. That's on the government's website. The government backs it out with research. This is not questioned. It's fact. I want to read a Facebook message that a mother of a 6-year-old little girl who's about to have surgery on her ears wrote me a couple of weeks ago. She wrote, "My husband has had migraines this week. We're submitting paperwork to get a mortgage and move. We have a mortgage on this house as well, but we just can't take it anymore. I'm so tired of being sick and having to cancel events." She names her husband. "Miss 3 days of work. We just can't. I didn't make it to the tax office to contest her appraisal because I couldn't drive. We talked to our realtor who said our house is not going to sell even if we try because we have to disclose Bitcoin. That was sent to me back in May. I have a petition here. I have a copy for each of you. And this petition was signed by over 1,000 Hood County voters. I hope that says something to you. We're asking that all public officials with oversight on matters in Hood County, including commissioners, offer emergency relief to individuals impacted by the Wolf Hollow Bitcoin facility owned and operated by Marathon Digital. And I go on to list the 5 things that we were asking for in there. I'm going to let you read them because I want to use my time in conclusion. Marathon Digital claims that they want to be a good neighbor. In the past several weeks, I've seen on social media reports of this multi-billion-dollar company paying for a poverty immersion experience, purchasing tables at various clubs and financing our 4th of July parade, all paid in part by the destruction of people's health, including children's hearing that they will never recover, hearing that will make socialization and education very difficult for them. Perhaps their money would be better used by spending it on reducing the destructive sound frequencies that their facility is producing. We're asking that this court do everything in your power to investigate and end this humanitarian crisis. Have no doubt, the citizens in Precinct 2 are resolved. We are tenacious, we are organized, and we vote. Thank you very much. And
Just go ahead. And I give one to the county clerk.
Carolyn Reeves.
Morning, thanks for letting me speak. So, I live thank you, sir. I live on Nevi Road between Plexi Highway and 144, and I can hear the Bitcoin noise periodically when the weather's right. My issue is also, I didn't know Bitcoin was coming and going to be part of this county. And now I'm hearing that they're wanting to expand, which my concern is the bigger it gets, the noisier it's going to get. And that's why I'm here today, because I don't want to hear it either. It's going to devalue my property as it is. My property is overvaluated by the appraisal board. They're very vicious about trying to get as much property tax dollars as they can from us. And that's an insult to these people who have it a half mile from their home, and they're still evaluating their houses like it's an increase of 50% each year. They use the multiple listing service to evaluate our home, which is not what that is for. It's for buying and selling homes. It's not for appraising the district county property appraisal to evaluate our homes. It is not used in Houston, Austin, or San Antonio to evaluate the homes. Only here in North Texas do they use the multiple listing listing to evaluate our homes. It's not how you evaluate or a comparable. You're supposed to get your neighbor's home and see how much value they've sold it for, and then you evaluate their home that way. I've done evaluations for banks previously, and that is not how you do it, where you get 20% of the highest selling houses in the county, and then you nail us all in this county for that higher value. So anyway, it's insulting that the Hood County Appraisal Board is doing this to us citizens of Hood County in lieu of the Bitcoin noise. Thank you very much.
That's all the speakers that I have. And now I would like for Mr. Mills to come up here and give us his legal position on whether the Commissioners Court can use taxpayer money to fund an independent study here for a select group of private citizens.
Well, let me preface that with, as you've heard, gosh, sorry about my voice, but this is actually impacts the county in multiple ways. As you've heard, this is creating a blighted area in our county, which is reducing the tax value of those homes, which will reduce the revenue that the county has to be able to support all the offices and functions of the county. So it's not just to, as you stated, support a select group of individuals. This, as I noted on the agenda, is a property tax risk. So we, as the commissioners and the fiduciaries of the budget for the county, to ensure that we have the resources to be able to do the things we need to do, build roads throughout the county. We're going to talk about a jail here in a little bit. If we have a 10-mile radius in the county that is being impacted and their property values are going down, guess what that means? Their property taxes will go down as well, which means that it will impact the entire county. So there's also, I want you to, Matt, to talk about the public health and safety exception that's in the discretionary exceptions for purchasing.
Well, nobody brought this to me really ahead of time. Now, I've been working, there's criminal cases pending for public nuisance that we're set for jury trial in a month. I've been working with Cheryl for months trying to see if there's a civil action that can be taken on behalf of that group. I agree completely that the appraisal district is overvaluing in light of the fact that they can't sell their property and their quality. I mean, I agree with all those things. I don't really know about funding an independent sound study, number one, and number two, let's say you vote. I mean, the way it's worded, it's, okay, well, who are you hiring? How much is it going to be? What account does it come from? So, to my knowledge, that's not on the agenda or addressed. So, I mean, I would at least have to take a pretty deep dive into, the legality of an independent sound study on behalf of this group. And in the meantime, we can be talking to people like Glenn about, okay, where would it come from? How would you bid it? How much could you spend, et cetera? But then the next question is, okay, you do an independent sound study. The study comes back and says, well, the sound is really bad. Okay, well, now what?
Take it to the state.
Well, I mean, now what? I mean, they know the sound is bad. They've all attested to that. If you have an independent sound study and some professional engineer comes and says, boy, the sound is really bad, okay, what does the county do then?
Well, then, I'm not sure who it was that spoke, this is information, third-party information, unbiased, professional engineers. Drew, would you mind bringing up that link? And I know Glenn's been on vacation, but fortunately, he and Debbie both have helped me go through this. Here's one of the companies that we found, and if you scroll down, you can see that this is what they do. Environmental noise assessment in Mexico. That's one of the studies that they've done. If you scroll down again, there's another one. Let's see.
Well, I get that, but I mean, what do you do? They say, okay, you do the study, they come back and they say, boy, that noise is terrible.
Right.
Now what? What does the county do with that next?
Okay, as I was saying, we take this information that's from experts that are non-biased experts. These aren't people that one company's hired or the citizens have hired. This is a third-party, non-biased evaluation, and then we can use that as we go to give information to our state rep or our state senator or the committee that is working on legislation for this and say, here's the impact. And it's engineering experts that do this all over the world. These are highly regarded, and it's not as much as you might think. It's less than $6,000.
I mean, I'll look at, the legal aspect. That's the question I really wanted. Okay, so the end game is you have a study, the study says the noise is really bad, and then you give that to your state reps to change the law. Is that?
And that's part of it. It's public information. It can be, if there's a journalist that want to use it, once the county has done it, then it's public information. So Debbie and Glenn provided is in the purchasing requirements, it says under public health and safety, an item necessary to preserve or protect public health or safety of the residents of the county. So that is an exception. They're also engineers, so there's that, but.
Okay, well, I mean, this is something I would like to ask David Brooks, our guru in Austin, which this item wasn't really brought to me ahead of court. So, like I said, I can do that due diligence, do that study, talk to David Brooks, that kind of thing. But at the same time, I mean, if we feel like this could move forward legally, I mean, even if I said, hey, great, go forward today, I don't know that you can with, you don't have, I mean, what's the bidding look like, who are you going to hire, what account, and so forth, like I said. So why don't we do those two things, and then if it's ripe to bring it back in a couple of weeks or whatever, then we can. I mean, is that?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, like I mentioned, I've talked to both Debbie and Glenn, but I would have preferred Glenn here and not on vacation.
Yeah.
So we have emailed back and forth about the discretionary exemptions regarding, these are engineering firms. Could you bring that link back up, please? These are engineering firms. They're called acoustical engineers. And there's also the public health and safety exception. But I wanted to read you a little bit out of what some of these studies are. The one that's at, the location is in Michigan. I don't know if you can find that when you look down. It's called, if you'll scroll down, did you see it? Michigan.
I saw Flint, and I thought that was Michigan.
Anyway, one of the things that they say is that the St. Mary's cement plant, the reason that they did the sound study was the sound emissions from the kiln stack and the modifications in the neighboring vicinity. So they have been called on in the past to do sound studies to understand the impact to neighboring communities. So they have done this before. So one of the ones, they talk about the engineering.
The city did this 2 years ago.
Engineering was retained by ERM, a global provider of engineering sources management services, to undertake an environmental noise assessment of the proposed desalination plant. There are existing communities bordering the project site on 3 sides with noise-sensitive residents, schools, and places of worship. So this is not something that's out of the ordinary for one of these companies to do. And this is just one example. And Glenn and Debbie were both looking to see if there were other companies that do the same thing. But this company has done this all over the world, and they're highly respected. And they're right here in Dallas, so right over there in Dallas, I should say. So at this time, I will, let any other commissioner have anything to say? Or judge?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. We've got a compressed schedule this month, and I'm hearing a lot of things that need to be tied up into a nice little bow before we could pass on anything today anyway. I would like to make a motion that we reschedule this agenda item for the first meeting in July, which is July 9th, a date certain, put it on the agenda, which gives the county attorney time to look into what he needs to look into. Our purchasing agent will be here so that he can have time to do what he needs to do, and we can hear Commissioner Samuelson. No offense, Commissioner, I'm having trouble hearing you, but that would be, my motion would be to move this until July the 9th to allow the unanswered questions to be answered, and then we can pass on this issue.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to reschedule item number 4 for July 9, 2024, for regular Commissioner Court hearing, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you. Item number 5, authorize the county judge to sign the City of Granbury's event application approving the use of the square parking lot beginning at noon, July 3rd through 6 p.m. July 7th for the Chamber of Commerce Hometown 4th of July 50th anniversary event, contingent upon proof of insurance. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of the City of Granbury's or the hometown? If not, well, this is something that we've been doing every 4th of July since I've been here for 38 years, I guess. This is the 50th anniversary. I move that we allow the event to take place as stated in the item that I just read, approving the use of the square beginning at noon on July the 3rd through 6 p.m. on July the 7th for the Chamber of Commerce Hometown 4th of July Parade 50th anniversary event, contingent upon proof of insurance.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? That, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay. All right, next, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the incoming Hood County Republican Executive Committee to hold its first meeting and to conduct its swearing-in ceremony at the second floor courtroom in the old courthouse at 100 East Pearl on June the 17th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Judge, I've checked with your office, and you have nothing scheduled. I've checked with the JP's office. There's nothing scheduled. The request is to allow the new EC to be sworn in formally in the old courtroom on the second floor. So I'll make the motion to allow the incoming local Hood County Republican Executive Committee to hold its first meeting and conduct its swearing-in ceremony at the second floor courtroom in the old courthouse at 100 East Pearl on June 17th, next Monday, from 5 till 7.
I second that. Because it, so that we know that. So that the motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to allow the incoming local Hood County Republican Executive Committee to hold its first meeting and conduct its swearing-in ceremony at the second floor courtroom in the old courthouse at 100 East Pearl Street on June 17, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., second by County Judge. Any further discussion?
Yes, I just want to add that we have the facilities agreement filled out by the incoming county chair, and so all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
I saw that, signed by Greg Harrell. All right, anything else? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Item number 7 calls for executive session, so we're going to skip that in deference to Faye. And go to item number 8, discuss and take appropriate action to request county judge's signature on annual maintenance renewal for voice products for radio and phone recording system for 911 dispatch. This software allows dispatch to record all conversations and pull the recordings for court cases and open records requests. The cost is $16,294 for the period April 2024 through March 2025, to be paid from IT software budget 010-5820-40800 contract services. We got the sheriff, the IT, and dispatch all up here. So I guess this is important.
It is.
It is very, very important.
It records all the radio information coming and going, records all the phone information, and that's got to be saved for all the cases, the court cases, so on and so forth, so.
We have the budget. Yep. We have the budget for it, so if you could just sign it, and we'll move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Sean, you agree with this too, don't you? Yes. Definitely, okay. So, all right, do I hear a motion, please?
Yes, I move that we authorize the county judge to sign the annual maintenance renewal for voice products for radio and phone recording system for 911 dispatch. Software allows dispatch to record all conversations and pull the recordings for court cases and open records request. Cost is $16,294 for the period of April 2024 to March 2025 to be paid from IT software budget contract services.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to allow the county judge to sign the annual maintenance renewal for voice products for radio and phone recording system for 911 dispatch in the amount of $16,294 for the period April 2024 to March 2025 to be paid from IT software budget. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, number 9 calls for executive committee, so in deference to Fay, again, we're passing this and going to number 10. Discuss and take appropriate action to determine the privacy or security event liability coverage for Hood County. We have Ms. Melissa Welburn here.
Good morning. Each one of you should have received the questionnaire that I received this year in our vehicle and public official liability renewal. This is going to be a separate policy starting this year. This is kind of new for us, new for TAC, but this is their recommendation as far as how we get to where we need to be for our amount of coverage. We currently have $1 million through TAC. Currently, we qualify for $500,000 starting October the 1st, unless we implement MFA, which is a multi-factor authentication program. If you have any questions about that, I'm going to have to call on IT because I don't know a lot about it. But it's up to the court on how much coverage we want moving forward starting October the 1st.
Do you know what the cost is of the $1 million?
I don't. I don't even know the cost yet of the $500,000. TAC is working on it. I was told when I was talking budget, they said, I don't think it'll be $20,000, but consider $20,000.
Or which one?
She just told me to throw in $20,000 when I was telling her I was trying to get my budget ready for the court. She said, throw in $20,000. She said, I don't think it'll be that much, but we weren't even talking about coverage at that time. We were just talking about dollar amount.
And what's in this current year's budget? The dollar amount for?
It's $765,000, I believe, is what I asked for in my budget.
What is the cost of what we have now?
Coverage?
Yes.
$1 million.
No. What's the premium that we pay for the $1 million?
Okay, $245,000.
Okay, now I'm confused. You said throw in.
When I was visiting with TAC about cost as far as property, automobile, and public official liability, I said, I need to figure in a dollar amount for the cybersecurity. And she said, consider $20,000. She said, I don't think it'll be that much. She said, but throw it in.
We don't know what $500,000, what the premium is for $500,000 to compare it to the premium for $1 million.
That's true. I do
not
know.
Or to $2 million.
That's correct. I don't.
You think they will have the answer by the next Commissioners Court?
I don't. This is part of the renewal process. I think I have to turn this in before I get the dollar amount.
So Drew or Owen or who's ever over there, on the $1 billion, there's a question number 3. Do you know what the answer is for the question number 3?
We do have that, yes, and it's encrypted.
So it would be a true A So it looks like we qualify other than the multi-factor authentication for 1 million.
That's correct.
Because I know we ask people to go to annual training for cybersecurity. So one of the things, Drew, on the multi-factor authentication, there's various different ways, as you know, that you can do that. One of the ways is to have some type of device that you can either biometrics or a fob or something that you can use with your device. But there's also the option to have a phone or text. Well, Melissa and I were talking, not everyone has a cell phone, but since we're voice over IP, the question can be asked for the phone number and it can go to your desk phone. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cell phone. So that option's available. So I don't know if we know how much multi-factor authentication would cost. What's the cheapest form? Are we trying to protect every device? Are we trying to protect certain applications, or just is email the lowest common denominator?
So to cover the $1 million policy, we have to have multi-factor authentication on email only.
On what?
Email only.
On only, okay.
Yes, email only. So of course, the free option would be to do it on your phone, just like, because you can download an app. Of course, I use it already for my personal stuff. But of course, then the conversation would be, why is the county making me put an app and, work stuff on my personal phone?
Right.
So we were looking at like a fob type system that we would issue to every employee. The problem with that is the cost.
Well, you skipped over, you can use your desk phone, since we're voice over IP. You can use your desk phone. So if everyone has a desk phone, then that's an option.
So the only thing I do not know is if Office 365 even lets us, if Office 365 gives us that option. So we have to use what Microsoft gives us.
Okay, we'll check, I guess.
So that would
We should check on that.
So like I said, we were looking at a fob-based system. But of course, there is a cost to that.
Okay, well, we need that information.
Okay.
What is your suggestion? What do you think the county needs?
I would be for implementing multi-factor authentication, obviously. Security is a big thing. We don't want to be like the city of Granbury or Parker County or any of those that got hit that are down from a cybersecurity incident. But of course, again, there is a cost to doing that.
So I think
Granbury and Parker County, they were successfully hacked, but your office prevented a hack. So we were not down at all, and it was, what year was that? Was that 2020?
It's been a while.
21.2.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you had everybody here from FBI, DPS, CIA, everybody here congratulating you on the great job that your department did.
Well, we caught it and shut it down.
I mean, it was really amazing that you were able to get it when you did. So that's what I'm saying. I think, this is above my pay grade, and doing something like this, I have to ask, what do you think you would need, knowing what's going on in the world?
I think we need to do it, and everyone is slowly moving to it.
I
So it's
agree.
only natural for TAC to require it for insurance purposes, because this is something that is more and more relevant
Yes.
Right.
every day.
One of the things that concerns me is the amount of AI that's floating out there, and as, these hackers and everybody else gets more proficient with AI, we've got to have, protection, and we've got to do everything we can, to prevent, being hacked. As we saw, Parker County is just now recovering from their event, and that was, the city's, recovering. But, we need to do, be in a position to do whatever's necessary, And like I say, and the concern right now is the amount of AI that's floating out there, because I know I get notices almost daily about new AI platforms that are out there that you can, people can go to. So that's, that is a concern.
Well, here's a question. How far are we away from even all the procedures listed here in the $2 million policy?
We are quite literally that same one, MFA.
It's the multi-factor authentication?
Yes.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
It's like,
So
let's not just achieve a 71 for a passing grade.
Exactly. We could go.
We can look at the options even up to 2 million if everything's in place.
Look at number 5 on 2 million.
That would be the only one. It's just those two questions.
Yeah, but it's not just multi-factor for email at that point.
Correct. That would be multi-factor for remote access, which
Yeah.
again, if we, so what we have researched and what we have found, and of course I have a cost to it, it would cover both of those.
Okay, you do have the cost.
It'll be around $20,000 to implement.
Okay, well,
About $20,000?
Yes, sir.
here,
That is sufficient to protect the county?
It will accomplish everything on this, yes.
well, here's my suggestion, Drew and Melissa. We need some data behind this to make a decision. We need the cost and the options. So I'm going to make a motion that the IT department and our risk management department put together a document that lists what it would take to qualify for the first 1 million and the second 2 million, what the premium's going to be for each, so that we can make an informed decision on the best method to go, and also include the different variations of multi-factor authentication with the cost of each of those.
Okay.
That's the motion.
I'll second that.
Do what?
Go ahead and repeat it.
I couldn't even hear what you were saying.
I'll give her a shot. Yes, sir.
I can't understand.
Yes, sir. Okay. We are asking for IT and HR to get tax, to give us a price for what steps that we need to do to achieve all of these, the variations for the multi-factor authentication, the different variations on that, the landline, that kind of thing, what we're looking at there, and then what each of these policies would actually cost from TAC. So we're looking for that. Now, is that something that they'll be able to give us before, when could we expect those?
Well, they're waiting on me. That is part of our renewal, is for me to choose, or for the court to decide if they want $1 million coverage, $2 million coverage, or just keep the $500,000.
Gotcha. When do they need that answer?
June 28th.
So we could do this next Friday's court. Can we get all the information, get all the details pulled together by then? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to table this until June 28th? then?
Well, it's not
Till
tabled.
June 21st.
We're making the motion to request that they provide the information so that we can make the decision.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably a fine line of difference there, but yeah, we'll do that. Make the motion to ask for those information pieces in order to be able to make that decision on the 21st.
I'll second that.
First?
Yeah.
So table it till June 21st?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
That's a motion made by
No,
Commissioner.
no, sir, it's not a motion to table. The motion is to request that the IT department and the risk management department provide a business case document that will list the options and the costs of each and the multi-factor, the different variations of multi-factor authentication, so that we can make an informed decision at the next court.
Yeah, we're requesting the information, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second by Commissioner Andrews. Do you have that, Ms. County Clerk? You got that? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say...
One minute. Just as a reminder, the next court is a week from Friday,
Right.
21st.
Yeah, 21st. We can,
Make sure everybody's on the same page.
yeah,
Good idea.
Friday. This
Friday at 2.
Yes.
Friday at
Right.
2.
But, I mean, the other alternative is to make a decision with no idea what we're doing, and that's not acceptable to me.
Do your
Got
best.
a motion and a second.
All right.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. All right, this brings us to item number 11. Discuss and take appropriate action to accept the DRG Architects fee proposal and authorize a county attorney to negotiate a final contract that will be brought back to court for signature. Yes, sir. Here we got everybody here. You want to cue it up, Mr. Wilson?
Well, this was an item that was tabled last court for DRG Architects fee proposal and, to authorize the county to negotiate a final contract. And, that's where we are today. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. Barely.
Judge, Commissioners, for the record, my name is Wayne Gondek with DRG Architects, Gary Adams, DRG Architects, here this morning with you. We did present a fee proposal after being selected for this project for you. We did establish that in 2 phases. One is in the pre-funding phase, has a stipulated fee, and then for the phase 2 for the design and construction administration, in such case that there was successful funding of the project. There was also supplemental services, which are basically those customarily provided by the owner that we are offering to include within our scope, such as civil engineering, geotechnical engineering, surveyor, landscape architect, fire safety engineer, and the asbestos survey to provide a comprehensive package in the phase 2 services. On page 5 of the fee proposal, we had a recap or summary that listed the phase 1, the phase 2, the supplemental services, and then the reimbursable expenses, and actually presented that as a not to exceed amount in there for a total fee structure for the project. There's a lot of information in here, and I know that y'all have had some time to go back and forth on it. I've talked to a couple of y'all on how this is put together previously, a little bit with Glenn on how we put this together and how this would fold into a standard AIA document for the agreement form. That obviously has to be modified for county government. There's things in the standard form that y'all can't do, and I think y'all understand that because it's a broad-based form. But we typically would prepare that. If y'all agree to the fee structure, we'd prepare a draft contract, turn that over to the county attorney to review, and then that would come back to Commissioners Court for actual approval. So with that, I'll answer any questions that y'all may have as to either the scope of services that we've included in here, the fee structure, or anything that we need to discuss on this.
If it goes forward, the build time frame for the building the 209 bed capacity is what, 24 to 30 months? Is that correct, or what's your forecast?
That would be the total design and construction.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, that we talked about before.
Okay. I was just making sure that we're still on that, because even though we're adding 209 beds with 53 out of county today, if I'm not mistaken, 54 yesterday, I believe it was. The issue is once the new facility is built, then we move all of the current inmates into that one and then start the refurb on there. So basically, before we see any real increase in bed capacity is about 4 to 5 years. Does that track with what your thoughts are?
You could phase it as far as the renovation portion of the project can be handled in multiple ways. You could do it in phases to where you could reduce or eliminate the number of inmates that you have to house out of county. If you wanted to do it all at once and move all your inmates in there and vacate everything in the existing jail, then that would require you to continue to house out of county. If you want to do it in a portion, or you might say a pay-as-you-go, or do a portion at a time type renovation, it may take longer, but you can keep more of the inmates in the county. So that is one of the things that with having that additional space at your county jail, you have you might say the flexibility or the opportunity to address that program in multiple ways, to come up with better solutions as to how are you going to upgrade the existing facility.
Okay.
Let me kind of ask a couple of, I guess, procedural questions here. Okay, so basically, and I'm going to try to break this down real simple form. What we're doing here, you guys are coming in, giving us a rough design, saying it's going to cost this much to build. So we take those numbers, and then we go to bond, and depending on the result of the bond, win or lose, I assume that if that bond fails, we don't go to step 2, phase 2. That's
that's correct, Commissioner. And that's why we really have broken this down into 2 phases. In reality, you're more than likely, you've still got to do something. Eventually, you're going to have to do something. We hope that we'll still be coming back up here at some point in the future to do something with you, but no. Yes, under this proposal, it's phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1 is pre-funding. If you do not have a successful bond issuance, phase 2 doesn't happen. You either have to back up and decide to do something else, modify the program, take it back out, and do something else to move forward. So that's why we did break it into phase 1 and phase 2 at this point.
Okay. Next question. This building was built in, I think it was started in 93 or whatever, built in 96. There were no real materials that were still available with asbestos. Do we still have to spend the money for asbestos checks whenever?
The way I understand the state requirements, the short answer is yes. Or you can have the architect that did design the building give you a certification that no asbestos-containing materials were used in the actual construction of the project.
Gotcha.
I don't think you're going to probably get that. I've never provided one of those because I don't know what the contractor actually did on site. That we may not have specified any at any time in the past, but I can't control what the contractor actually snuck in there. We have found things in facilities that were constructed within the last 20 years that had asbestos-containing materials and mastic. It wasn't materials that were specified, but somebody picked up a bucket and went to start doing something.
Way out of the back of a warehouse somewhere.
It had to have been someplace
Yes,
that, it wasn't manufactured or whatever, but these things do happen. And so that is one of the things that it is required by state law for us to do it. We follow through on that. Most of the time it comes back that there are no, we just went through Angelina County, it was clean. That was built about the same time. So, typically it comes back clean. There are other times that it comes back and we have to go in and, sometimes it's one piece of insulation up and sometimes it's a patch that somebody's done on a maintenance project. So those.
Okay.
It's really not that costly to start with, and it's good insurance for everybody.
Okay.
I'm going to ask a couple of questions. So, or just one clarifying statement is this packet that you have here. I know we're talking about the existing jail, but this packet and the cost in this packet does not include any renovations to the existing facility, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make that clear to everybody. And then on your last paragraph, right before the signature, you talk about the phase 1 would begin on July 1st, anticipating a November 2024 bond election to be called in August. You've provided a lot of good information, plus we have other documents that have been provided. I guess my question is don't we have enough material currently to go forward with doing the process to put it on the bond without spending another $280,000 without knowing what the outcome of the bond is going to be?
Commissioner, you can technically or at your discretion go forward there's nothing keeping you from going forward with calling a bond election. We have seen that it is a lot more successful with providing adequate information to the public as to what are you asking them to spend this money on and how did you get there. That is what we are proposing to do, is to prepare documentation for that. Right now we have a real quick floor plan that we included for you before, and to present. This is a concept drawing. We want to develop that into a better presentation, to do some more development to that as far as making more presentation documentation. We want to take the jail commission F&A and evaluate that, comment on that, look at more statistics and bring that forward, and to be able to discuss that openly in public. We would want to participate in public meetings to be able to take all that information that we gain both on the F&A, verifying the actual program on the jail here, and present that to the public as far as the facts of what is going in here, how do we establish that, and all the information on that building. So that is where our services are really at in this going forward. Yes, you can go forward without us being involved. You can go forward with taking some concept designs and go forward. We're participating. We're going. There's time involved. There's risk involved. There's all those things that when we produce things. We're talking about cybersecurity risk. We have that professional liability risk involved. Everything that we do, we has a cost to us to participate.
Yeah, you've provided a lot of good information already that helps understand what the cost would be, what the design would be, and we also have, like you said, we have the updated F&A that the public is, it's publicly available. If you were to begin on July 1st, when would you have the next set of documents ready?
We would update some of that information before the August meeting so that y'all could call that. We present some more information. We would continue, if you call that in August, we would continue developing presentation documents and be ready to start presenting those in October. for a November bond election.
So can I throw some, you got anything else, Commissioner? So one question, I'm trying to get my hands around the next item is to talk about how we're going to finance this. So I assume, it sounds to me like it's kind of, everybody's in agreement up here that we're going to go look at going with a bond issue. Is that, am I so far reading the tea leaves? If we're not, haven't made that decision, it seems to me like before we talk to y'all, we need to get up here and take a vote on what we're going to do. So, because if it's going to be a bond issue, which it sounds to me like that's where it's headed, and I think you guys even recommended the same, if you look at the Texas Public Finance Handbook for Texas counties, it talks about financing a county jail. There's a whole section on it that's available for us to review, and it says that it is important that the county involve its financial advisor, which I think Mr. Sabonis is sitting out there right now, and he's given us an opinion on a $32 million number, either a certificate of obligation or a bond, and bond counsel before we do anything. And it seems to me like that got you in here a little bit premature, because I would say that based on my reading of this, and I don't disagree with it, we've got Mr. Sabonis involved, but if we're going to go with a bond, which we haven't decided to do that yet, we need to get bond counsel first, in my opinion. And then we talk to you guys. If you don't feel like this, I mean, where did this $32 million number come from that was given to our financial advisor? Does anybody?
It's from his document.
Okay, so that $32 million is what y'all.
That's their document.
Gave us for preliminary for a 209 bed facility. So we got that number. I've got documentation from a year and a half ago, that y'all were part of, actually, some programming that we spent $85,000 on that, but they did a special programming on remediating the old jail at $23 million. It seems to me like that this conversation, if we're going to decide to go with a bond, we need to look at the whole package instead of piecemealing this out. We need to look at the addition as well as the move out and the renovation, the cost of that. And now we're going to be talking $60 million. And that absolutely, in my opinion, should be a bond consideration. But those are just questions I have that we haven't even decided, we haven't voted on how we're going to do this. So again, I think we need to do that first, in my opinion, and then go from there, but that's just what I think.
What did they do in Angelina County? You said you just came back from Angelina. That's Lufkin, isn't it? Yes. Did they build a jail? They're going to build a jail?
Yes, sir. They added on to their jail.
Just like what we're trying to do here?
Basically, yes. They're not in the same situation. Their existing jail was very sound. They do not have to go back and renovate their jail. They are just adding strictly capacity to move forward with that.
If I might interrupt, they used $10 million of ARPA money.
Correct.
They used their ARPA money for their jail.
Their initial was $10 million, plus their budget was another $8 million for matching that or extending that to meet their budget needs. So, and I believe that was on tax anticipation notes or revenue bonds or tax anticipation notes is what they did on there. So.
Okay, the
RCOs?
Yes.
Okay, they did their.
most recent facilities need analysis prepared for Hood County is dated May 24th of 2024. That's, 2 weeks ago. And it was prepared by the Executive Director of the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. Now, what's interesting is their recommendation, and I quote, based on information and the 1-to-48 staff and inmate ratio, we would recommend the consideration be given to constructing a facility consisting of no less than 432 beds with the capacity to expand as needed in the future. Now, if memory serves me correct, 432 was what we looked at about a little over a year ago as a proposed, process then. I mean, this is, 2-week-old data right here that says, that. And, with the inmate population, with the, increase in population that they're saying, that they're forecasting, we've got to, look not only at the 209 that we're looking at now, but, the renovation of the 192 that we've got possibly, and we're still below the 432, 401 is the, minimum that they're suggesting by 2040. 432 is what their recommendations are. So even with the 209 and the 192, we're not quite there. We're at 383, I believe it was. So, we're, got to look at, the partial picture, what you're proposing now, but we've also got to look at the big picture as a total. And, that is, the phase 1 and phase 2 approach. So, we've got to, be looking at the overall picture, because 54 out of county today is, well, that's taxpayer dollars going to other counties is what it boils down to. And as Mr. Hoff has, previously, addressed in an email to all of the citizens, all of the commissioners, the, proposal would allow us to have, actually reduce our cost at some point, but not having to go out of county. And that document is right here, and it's shareable with anybody also. So that is where we're at. As far as Mr. Eagle's recommendation, how we're going to go forward, maybe we do have, the things flipped, because we flipped them last court, and let's look at, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and then, we got to go forward and do it, with, moving forward. So, given that, I would make a motion that we, at this point, table, the further discussion for the final contract until we determine for fact which way we're going to go as far as a bond or a certificate of obligation.
I'll second.
Yeah, a motion made by Commissioner Wilson to table the architectural fee proposal and to determine whether we're going to go by either a bond or certificate of contract, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
I'm going to make a motion for a break. 5 minutes, please.
Break.
Thank you.
Let's take a break here for 5 minutes then. We're going back into Commissioners Court. And the next item and the last item, except the 2 executive session items, is number 12, discuss and take appropriate action to choose a funding method for a jail addition and authorize the county auditor to pursue that funding. And we have with us today Mr. Jim Sabonis. Mr. Sabonis, please talk loud and clear into that deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Jim Sabonis, and I'm with Hilltop Securities, the county's financial advisor. I prepared and forwarded to Stephanie, who I believe circulated it to you, 2 items. One was just a summary financial analysis of the county's ability to fund approximately $32.4 million jail cost. And the county's in an excellent financial condition. You've got a AA+ rating. We only have a couple years left on our outstanding debt, and so we appropriately can fund this in a 20-year amortization without impacting our current very low INS tax rate of 2.46 cents. It would cost slightly under 4% in today's market. The analysis that we ran was based on a 4.03%. We buffered current rates by 25 basis points, and our expectation is that this sale could be done competitively at a very cost-efficient basis. That being said, when we sell bonds for jails, and we're doing this type of transaction, there's two methods authorized by Texas statute. The Texas statutes very clearly define how public entities can fund various projects. As a county, you have three main ways to fund things. You can vote general obligation bonds. We can go through a public notice process and issue certificates of obligation. Each of them can be up to 40 years long. They pledge the county's ability to levy an INS ad valorem tax, and they would generate your AA+ rating. They would be sold equally in the market. Sometimes we have entities that sell both simultaneously, and they just price exactly the same because the same credit. There's also the ability to do a short-term tax note for shorter amortization useful life assets of 7 years, and that's just through a simple order process. In the case of jails, we've done both voted obligation bonds and certificates of obligation. The second item that we had forwarded, we've been in contact with the county's bond counsel, McCall Parkhurst. Rudy Sakura forwarded a schedule, and the key date for this upcoming November election would be that the last day to call election is Monday, August 19th. So we can call it approximately 35 days, I believe, prior to that, but that's the last day you have. And so time, if you go forward, is of the essence. And in my experience, we've used both methods. The bottom line is that a certificate obligation involves a public notice in the paper of record, and it allows the citizens, if they want to sign a petition, and a petition of 5% of the people that voted in the last general election could force the item to a bond, an actual bond election, which would mean May. In my entire career being involved in 2,500 bond programs, only received 2 petitions for very controversial projects. At the same time, most of the debt that's issued by entities in the state of Texas is certificates of obligation, and here's the key things I see as a financial advisor for it. That one is it something that benefits the entire county and not a specific project or venue? And 2, what's the tax rate impact to the citizens? So in this case, this is something that would benefit the county. 1, reducing the cost of the county to transfer prisoners to other places and pay for that rental, and allow judges more leeway in determining sentences. And then secondly, our analysis says, based on these estimates, there would be no tax rate increase. On the other hand, on the general obligation bond program, it just takes one more person to approve than not to approve, and it's an education process. And in the case of your proposed jail program, is clearly something I think that an educated voter should be able to understand and make the right decision. Currently, my understanding is, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, we're spending over $1 million a year transferring prisoners to other counties. We're required, and we have information from our regulatory agencies that we should be expanding our jail, and that I think we can show that there's not going to be an increase in the ad valorem tax rate to fund the jail and the flexibility to be able to house prisoners accordingly. And that process would be something that we would talk to the citizens in some public meetings about and get them behind that whole process. So to me, it's a political decision as you policy, as the commissioners, which way you'd want to go forward. A couple things I would mention would be that the last few years have been really eye-opening, how prices increase and how bidding projects out is really important to understand when we fund projects. And I'll use an example. One is that if you're going to do a general obligation bond program, and today we have an estimate of $32 million, I would strongly suggest that we would build a contingency in there. Prices escalate quickly over time. And if, in the language, I would indicate, and I'm using a hypothetical, that we might vote 35 million of bonds, but indicate that we only fund the cost of that project. And so you just need a little leeway, because what an estimate is today, it could skyrocket. I've seen this year many projects that didn't follow that type of process have come up and have to do a secondary funding. Or if you went through the certificate obligation process, what I would indicate and what we've done successfully, use a real life example, in a jail expansion I was involved in, the architects indicated it's going to be about $32 million. When we looked at the estimate, about $6 or $7 million was a big contingency. The commissioners and judge discussed it, and we came up with a plan to simultaneously bid the project out and start the process to issue bonds, with the bid coming in, not to exceed bid, about 2 to 3 weeks prior to us actually going out and issue the debt, so the county's team could review the bids, determine what the best bid was. And so the day that they actually accepted a bid of $23 million, we actually funded $23 million, exactly what they do. So to try to make sure that we have both flexibility, but don't over-issue from that process. And again, in this case, and one more comment I'd say is that it's important to have the right information to go forward. And I know the discussion, I'm just going to comment on a previous discussion point. I think that there's been a lot of information shared with the county about the cost of the project, because I think you should have a pretty good idea of what that cost would be. And is that enough information that you're comfortable? Are you 90% comfortable that that's going to be within the range of your project? And we can present that to the citizens and support a bond election? Or simply put, is it spending $200,000 to get to the next 95%, because it's still going to be a variable till you actually bid it out, would take place. But I'd say that I think that in either case, I expect that we have access to the funding and it wouldn't be impact the citizens. I know as a follow-up, we'll expand our analysis to a multi-year expansion, work with Stephanie based on some information I heard today. But that concludes my kind of initial comments. I'd answer any questions or provide any answers I can to any questions that you have.
Okay, Mr. Sabonis. So about a year and a half ago, we did get a cost estimate in for, provided we empty out the old jail to where we can get to it, to remediation, renovations, and bring it up to par. If I remember correctly, it was around $23 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. This was back in January of '23, a year and a half ago. I know a lot of prices have stabilized, at least in the construction area, but be that as it may, if you're looking at the $32.5 million that you've looked at so far, that was proposed on the 209-bed new addition, and you add the $23 million to that that we got a year and a half ago, and then as you said, we add a factor in there to cover just in case, even if it's 10% or 15%, we should have a pretty good idea of a bond number to get the whole project done. And so that's kind of my thinking, is because otherwise we build a new space and move all the prisoners over there, we got to come back to the taxpayers and hit them for another. We got to go try to settle 2 bonds in a row, and looks to me like, if we're going to go with bonds. So I guess that's what we need to consider, is are we going to try to do I think even Commissioner Wilson pointed out, looking at the whole big picture, finish the new addition, 209 beds, move everybody out, and then start the renovation and have the funds together to do the whole project. Is that unreasonable?
No, Commissioner, I haven't modeled out, but it makes sense to me. I think it's important to understand not just what this year's need is, but over the course of the next couple of years. Now, bond authority is good for 10 years, and I don't think we can predict out what's 10 years, but it would seem to me if there's two separate phases of this, I'll work with the county staff, and before the next county commissioners meeting, we'll provide analysis of a detailed, how you do those multi-phases. And you might, again, the timing, we might have two phases of debt issue, but if you're going to have a bond program, I think that makes a complete picture. You can tell the citizens of the county, here's what we're going to do over the next 4 years, it's two phases, how that works. Because, the first question that people ask when you do a bond issue of any nature is, what else do we have to do? And so I'll have to get back with you on that, but I think it would make sense to go for there.
One thing, we also, last year, we did a, study and a planning, for the 432 bed. Well, that number came in at only 66 mil, not counting the, new rent or new, center for the deputies. I mean, now we're talking 60, roughly 60 mil, 55 plus, basically, right now, to renovate, when, for 66, we could have a totally new facility, with 432 beds to go, based on the numbers we got last year. So, I mean, which way are we better off, buying, do the 209 and then refurbing the 192, if it's possible to even refurb, versus 432, and we're only talking, maybe 6 mil, 7 mil tops, more, which makes more sense.
And we'd still have to do something with the LEC. The LEC would not be updated if we did that.
Well, with the 23 million, but there was, that number, heck, it had 3.5 million for doing flower beds and parking lots out there. There was a bunch of money in there for moving ducts and doing things that didn't need to be done. That 23 million was pie in the sky. There's no way that you put that kind of money into that project. I think the sewer line is a pretty important part of that over there. And I think that if you seal the showers and get the water going down the drains where it's supposed to go, a whole lot of your problems go away in that portion of the building. So I don't think 23 million is a realistic number for what gets done over there on the renovation side.
Is, to build a new facility, the 209, and then try to refurb whatever it's going to refurb, we're almost at the same number for building a brand new 432.
I disagree with that. I think that, like I said, I think that 23 is way overinflated, and if we, maybe 10, probably less than that. I think that the number on the redoing the plumbing was 4.5 million or so.
All the plumbing needs to be redone in the building, in the current facility.
Yep, and I think that bid came in at about 4.5 mil.
That would be a must.
And then we're looking at doing the, cast in place. I still think that that's a viable option.
So you're thinking, instead of 23, it's between 10 and 15?
I think that would be a better number and probably still elevated.
Well, I do agree with both Commissioner Eagle and Commissioner Wilson that going to the voters, if that's what we intend to do, with an entire package is better than piecemeal. We need to give them all the information, not come back in 4 or 5 years and say, oh, well, now we need to renovate the existing jail. So I think we do need maybe we need a better estimate for the existing jail renovations so that we can put the total package together and put it in front of the voters. We need to have town halls or sessions at night where people that work can come and listen to what the need is and educate the public on what the need is before we, go out to bond. So I think Commissioner Eagle said we have some steps to go through to get bond counsel. I think, gosh, I really wish I could talk better. Get bond counsel so that we could move forward on this and know exactly what steps to go through.
You know, Commissioner Samuelson, it's interesting. I was involved in the funding of the current jail that you have many years ago, and we went through a process similar to this, and I came to a public hearing at each commissioner's precinct where they had the community involved, and we presented the information, and one for the countywide basis. It was an interesting series of meetings, and it ultimately ended up with what they financed here. And Judge, if you and the commissioners work with your staff, you know, if you have some different options that you're looking at, and they provide me, I can provide all different scenarios to you and what the impact would be, and you could take that debt-related information, working with your jail staff, if there's operational implications, and kind of look at which scenario financially, strategically makes the best sense for you. But we'll commit to get that to you in a timely fashion, and we'll commit to support the county in its public meetings with the citizens and provide this information.
What would be your professional opinion to do a certificate of obligation or a bond package for the total package? What's your professional opinion?
You know, I can give advice on financial, but I'm not I don't make policy for the county. I think you know your community better than I do, and I defer to you and the citizens decide what's the best here. You know, to me, my goal is to make it as cost-efficient and effective financing for you, but the authorization process, I would defer to you and your commission, the judge and the commissioners to decide.
Thank you.
See how he lobbed that right back to you?
I said this last time, but I'll say it again, that on the certificates of obligation, it only requires 5% of the registered voters. That's 2,500 people. I think anybody can look at some recent elections and realize that there's a high probability of getting 2,500 people that will ask us to do an election. So, you know, this is a lot of money. I think the voters need to weigh in on it.
You know, and one piece of information I didn't give, and I think it's important to note, is that in the certificate of obligation, if you do receive a petition, you'll be forced to go to vote, and no other method of long-term debt can be financed for that purpose for a period of 2 years unless you voted in that process. So that's an important thing to take into note.
Well, here's something, I mean, trying to simplify it for me is a bond lets the taxpayers opt in, and a CO forces them to opt out. And that's why you've only seen a couple of elections where that's happened in all your years' experience, because it's really almost a done deal. And that's one of the criticisms currently of certificates of obligation by local governments, is that if they issue them, they're not going to get challenged. And so, to me, it's us making the decision up here that maybe that the voters ought to be making on that kind of a number, in my opinion, and let them opt in. And then if the voters vote to go with it, then we're doing the will of the people.
This current, right now in this fiscal year, we budgeted $800,000 for out-of-county housing. Just make everybody aware of that. We're over $600,000 of that right now, and we've with a third of the year to go. I mean, we will have to be moving money probably the first quarter in July to cover out-of-county housing bills. That's how serious this issue is. And to the point that, we budgeted $800,000, and we're probably going to be about a 1.2, maybe even 1.3 by the end of this fiscal year, which ends September 30th. So just everybody needs to be aware of where we're at and how much money is being expended that could be making bond payments or certificate of obligation payments.
Well, do we need a motion here?
Well, do we need to go ahead and decide whether to go with a CO and a bond, at least do that much?
I will make a motion that we pursue and authorize the county auditor to pursue the funding doing a certificate of obligation bond for the, 209 jail facility and the renovation with a cap of $56 million based on the numbers that's been provided today. And that includes the 209 and the renovation for the 192 with a cap.
I have a point of order on that. You call it a certificate of obligation bond, is that correct?
Certificate of obligation, excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
A motion made by Commissioner Wilson to instruct the auditor to get with Mr. Sabonis, I would assume, and do a certificate of obligation for a renovation to the existing jail and a 209-bed new jail facility not to exceed $56 million?
That's correct.
Do I hear a second? Second. I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. The nays have it, 3-2. Y'all want to make another motion? The nays? I hear another motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we pursue, have our auditor, financial advisor, bond counsel to go through the process of what needs to be done to issue a bond or a bond package. It could be multiple bonds, we don't know yet, but in the form of a general obligation bond with the options that we talked about today. I'm not putting a number on there. Somewhere between $30 and $50 million. I guess I'll put a range. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Does that include the renovation and?
Yes, the whole project, I'm sorry. Thank you for.
Yeah, 30 to 50.
New space and renovate, remodel old space.
And would that include hiring a bond counsel? Or?
Yeah, bond counsel, of course.
For the county auditor and the bond advisor to formalize a plan for a general obligation bond to include the renovation and a new facility.
Yes, sir.
Not to exceed what amount? What bond amount?
50 million, not to exceed 50.
$50 million bond. That's the motion, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries for either. Did you vote? Vote for? Unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioners, I will be back. I'll work with your staff and bond counsel. In a couple of weeks, we'll come forward with a presentation with different pricing options based on the different scenarios, the proposed agenda language for the actual election, and for you to decide what scenario you decide to go forward with.
Thank you, sir. And parenthetically, Mr. Sabonis is already discussing this with bond counsel, just for FYI.
Okay.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. Now, let's go ahead and, let's
Consent
go to the
agenda.
consent agenda before, we're going to finish up this so that we can leave, and we'll take the 2 executive sessions back at the court. So we are now at the consent agenda. Does any commission wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? I have any
Yes.
questions?
Yes, Judge, the 2 information technology,
I can't hear you. I don't know.
sorry, the 2 information technology items, yeah, the IT department said that they do not need to do that transfer. I think he talked to you about it at the beginning of the meeting.
What line, is it 2A? Is that what you're talking, 2A and B?
Yes. A
Is that
and
what
B.
you're talking about?
Well, yes.
A1 and 2.
Yes.
2A and B.
100 and the 20,000.
Increase software and decrease books and, all right.
Yes, we could pull those. I don't need to do the transfer.
So, what was your explanation? I'm sorry, I was distracted.
You're good. You're good, Judge. We don't need to do the transfer. We have enough money.
Oh, you don't need to do the transfer?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so remove that item.
Yes, sir.
On both,
There should
one
be
and
2 of
two?
them. Yes, sir.
2A
1
and B.
and 2.
A, 1, and 2.
Not item 1. $100,000.
Both of those.
C1A1 and 2.
Both 1 and 2?
Yes.
Yes.
You're going to remove
Yes.
both?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Remove C1.
C1A1.
C1A1 and C1A2.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay, fine. Other than the removal of those 2 items, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as stated with the modification.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the consent agenda with the 2 modifications as stated in the record by removing C1A1 and C1A2, second by Commissioner Eagle. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, no road ops, so development, Mr. Clint Head. Set a public hearing, right, for the replat of Old WD Ranch Section D. So at this time, at high noon, we're going into a public.
We're setting a public hearing on this one.
Yeah, we just set one, okay. You got a date?
Yep, July 23rd, Commissioners Court.
July 23rd, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for the replat of Old WD Ranch, Section D, lots 38R1 through 38R7 for July 23rd.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Andrews to set a public hearing for July 23rd, 2024 for Old WD Ranch, Section D, lots 38R1 through 38R7, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next,
We have a final plat to discover the Marjo Barnhart Edition, Lot 1, Block 1, and Precinct 1.
okay,
This property is located in the rural district in Precinct 1. The subdivision will be creating a 4.815 acres lot out of the William Hunter Survey Abstract Number 226 and the J.W. Peacock Survey Abstract Number 698. The proposed lot will be served by private well and on-site sewage facilities. There is no infrastructure proposed to be constructed with this final plat and will be accessing the existing Hutchinson Road. Staff has reviewed this final plat and all comments have been addressed.
okay. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, Judge, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat of Marjo Barnhart Edition, Lot 1, Block 1.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to approve the final plat of the Marjo Barnhart Edition, Lot 1, Block 1, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank
Thank
you, Mr. Head. Financial. Kristen, come on up here and tell us about it.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. The expenditures for this court is $765,495.16. The auditor's office has reviewed all of these invoices and recommends payment.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we pay the bills for the period of May 22nd through June the 4th, 2024, in the amount of $765,495.16.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to pay the bills for the period May 22nd, 2024 through June 4th, 2024 in the amount of $765,495.16, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Judge.
Yes.
Before you adjourn, number 7, I think we can just go ahead and do right out here. I don't see any reason to go in there. We got a contract.
Okay. You agree with that, Mr. Mills? We have a signed contract on the sales on the Paluxy Road.
Yes, sir. I sent it all yesterday around noon, and I apologize that it was late, but we got, I think, what we wanted. They've been easy to work with. It just took a little time to just get some of the finer points done, but there's not anything in there that we didn't want or is adverse to the vote that was taken 2 weeks ago. So it's still the $1.5 million for that sale, and LGMC is going to continue with their lease, so that's good news as well. So hopefully we can just sign it out here, I think. There's not any more wrangling.
Yeah, we're through with it. It's all the wrangling's done, right?
Yes, right, I think so.
I don't know where my
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we have the judge sign this contract, initial the pages and sign this contract to consummate the deal on Paluxy property.
Second. Okay, a motion made by Commissioner Eagle to allow the county judge to sign the contract on the 1322 Paluxy Road, Granbury, Texas property. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So as soon as I find that, do you have a copy of it? Do you have the copy there? I'll just sign the one then.
This is just what I emailed yesterday. I don't know.
Okay, is that the original?
Well, this, I mean, it's not like his original signature. I mean, he scanned it into a PDF and emailed it to me, and then I forwarded it to y'all. I don't have like his original ink on the paper kind of thing. Do y'all have anything better than what I emailed?
This is what you emailed right here.
Right, yes, that's, so whatever you've got is good as what I have.
And this one.
Okay.
There you go.
Use blue ink.
Page 13.
Gosh, we got to initial every.
We got to initial every one of them.
Is that it? Just
So then we're going to adjourn into executive session to consider and take appropriate action to purchase property in precinct 1. So we're going to convene into executive session on that. So, and then after that, we're going to adjourn. Hey, at 1:25, we're back in Commissioners Court. I'm announcing that no action was taken in executive session, and we are adjourned.